Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to our session on principles of Islamic financial planning, or at least some principles on financial planning. It is going to be a fairly, brief session. We'll do about 40 minutes presentation and then 20 minutes for Q&A. So, of course, we won't cover everything in this time, but at least the aim is to give you a taste. My name is Patrick Mehdi O'Neill. I'm a financial advisor for Simply Ethical. And, today's session is going to be just talking about principles of Islamic financial planning. So we're not really going to be talking about, Simply Ethical, etc. You can find details of us on the on our website. And more information about us. Small bit of brief background about myself. I've been involved in UK and international financial services for over 20 years. In that time, I met the current head of Simply Ethical, 𝗙𝗲𝗲 𝗢𝗶𝗶. We were together with a company, and he was a bit frustrated because he wanted to really specialize in Sharia compliant financial planning and wealth management, which was difficult in the firm that we were with. So he established Simply Ethical to do that. So my main role is I'm a senior financial advisor, and I also do financial training as well. So today, in today's session, we're going to be giving you a brief insight into some of the important, principles of Islamic financial planning. We're not going to go too much into about Sharia compliance and not, etc. We covered that in a previous session. So it's really to hone in on the financial planning side of things. Of course, yes, we will be talking about some aspects of the Sharia as well. Our session will be approximately 40 minutes. And then after that, there'll be an opportunity to, ask me any questions. And I'll do my best to answer. Of course, I'm not an expert in everything, but I will endeavor to do my best to answer any of your questions. And thank you kindly for all attending the session today. So just very briefly, okay. Imagine you're going on a journey, okay? I don't know if any of you have been to Dubai, okay? So this is a picture of Sheikh Zayed Road. I used to live in Dubai for some years, and this was a bit of a scary road to drive on at the beginning. And imagine you were going on this journey, okay? And you could, you had to choose going in a donkey or a car. Which would you go for, okay? Well, I think most people would go for the car version. So the same with financial planning. Financial planning is a financial journey, okay? It's a financial journey. Most people are plodding along on this financial journey, okay? Not making the best use of their financial resources. So inshallah, what I want to do in this brief session is, elevate your financial thinking, okay? Give you ideas, okay? Help you, how do I get myself organized in terms of my financial resources to achieve my financial goals in life. Increase your financial intelligence, okay? Remember, okay, your mind is your greatest asset. So inshallah, that's what I hope to do in our small brief session today. First of all, I just want to put things into a little bit of perspective. If we think for a moment, what are our most, valuable, resources? We can say amongst our most valuable resources are, our health, okay, our time and money, okay. And what is financial planning about? Okay, financial planning is about organizing our financial resources, okay, our money, okay, to help us to achieve a quality of time. And there's a trade-off between, okay, time and money when you think about it. So we spend a lot of our time, working every day in order to earn money to pay the bills and to build up a financial future. And why are we doing this? Because we want to have a quality of time. We want to eventually be able to retire. We want to be able to achieve financial independence, financial freedom. So really, if you can box clever, okay, with how you manage your financial resources, then you will have more and better quality time available to you in the future. And of course, this impacts on your health, on your health as well, of course. And I'm just going to want to share some of my, favorite quotes with you or some of my favorite quotes on money. Again, one needs to think about, what is your relationship, what is your relationship with money? And this really is, subhanAllah, this is one of my favorite quotes from 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗃. He reported, when money is in your hands and not in your heart, it will not harm you, even if it is a lot. And when it is in your heart, it will harm you, even if there is none in your hands. I think this is a brilliant quote. And I think this is very, very important. Sometimes people, this life, we know that this life is a test from Allah, okay? And one of the things we're tested with is our money and our wealth, okay? And sometimes it's really easy to forget about what is the real purpose of this, what is the real purpose of this life, okay? So the purpose of this life is not to make, huge and tons amounts of money, okay? Very, very far from it. We know that this life is a test, which, inshallah, will decide, whether we're going to be successful in the next life. So money, okay, we should not be a slave to money, okay? Money should be a tool in our hands, okay? And this is unfortunately where people go wrong. They go like, chasing the money, okay? So either just spend, too much of their time, chasing money, or they do things that are illegitimate with their money and their financial resources and their wealth. So we need to get the right balance. Also, what we don't want is, our money and our wealth. It is from Allah. Okay, it is a resource and a manna from Allah. So we want to make sure, this money has duty. We have duty and responsibilities to this, money as well. So, for example, just leaving tons of money sitting in the bank account is not really, helping very many people. It's better to be investing it in businesses, doing trade with it, etc. So by doing things with our money, we're helping to create prosperity, okay, and wealth for all, okay. Not just accumulating or hoarding the money. I think in order to really appreciate financial planning, okay, it is good to have an understanding of money, okay. And this is another quote that I like, okay, from The Money Trick by the Institute of Democracy. Money power is the greatest power in the whole world. It is the power to give and the power to take away, the power to destroy and the power to create, and the power to crush opposition or bestow favors. Now, I think all of you will know, okay, that one of the key, prohibitions that we find in Islamic finance is riba, okay, that there should be no riba, okay. And what is riba? And normally it's translated as, the earning of interest. And what is the earning of interest? The earning of interest is making money from money, okay. So the system, unfortunately, the financial system, this era that we're living in at the moment, it is completely dominated by an interest-based financial system, okay. However, okay, alhamdulillah, since the the 1970s, and Islamic finance has emerged, and Islamic financial institutions have emerged. This has now given us, Muslims, here in the UK, all over the world, okay, or most parts of the world, many, many options in terms of how we do our financial planning, okay, in a way which is good, okay, but is not compromising our deen, okay, and not going against what Allah has ordained for us. So understanding money really is vital, and understanding how our financial system is vital, okay, both in terms of being, smart with your money, smart with making investment, and also to stay away from that which is, not going to be beneficial. To be honest with you, for the purposes of this talk, going into our financial system and explaining how it works, how the money system works, how our banking system works, fiat currency, fractional reserve banking. This is beyond the scope. Okay, this is beyond the scope of this particular talk. However, you can explore more. I wrote an article a few years ago, which was called "What's Wrong with the Current Financial System." This was when I first moved to Dubai. I joined a firm, and my aim was to establish an Islamic window at that firm. And I said, well, look, if we want to establish an Islamic window, we need to educate people about Islamic finance. We need to tell them why Islamic finance, better than conventional finance. I did a huge amount of research, and I wrote an article, "What's Wrong with the Current Financial System?" So what's wrong with the current financial system? So you can find this online. Okay, it's on Google. It's been published by various places. And then I wrote a follow-up article, Principles of a Islamic Financial System. And last point I'll make on here, or maybe 2 points if you allow me. One is, look, and I'm not going to get into a big debate on this. This is not the purpose of this talk. A lot of people will be critical, okay, of Islamic finance, Islamic banking. They'll say, okay, look, it's kind of the same thing as the conventional. They're just changing the names, etc., stuff like this. So I don't want to get into all of this debate. Okay, maybe there'll be some questions in the audience, when we get to the end, which is fine. But all I will say is, is that what we have got to remember, okay, I always make a distinction between an Islamic financial system and Islamic finance products and an Islamic finance industry. So, alhamdulillah, we have an Islamic finance products and we have an Islamic finance industry. So at least as Muslims, we have got choice. An Islamic financial system, no, okay, not in my book, okay. Islamic financial system, we're talking about the rules of money, okay, the rules of the game, okay. So this is something which we lack. So yes, of course, it's easy to look at Islamic banking and Islamic finance and find things which are not ideal or compromised. This is to be expected in the current, riba-based financial system that we have at the moment. However, it's incumbent upon all of us to do the best what we can within our power. So we are responsible for our money, our financial planning, what we do with our wealth. So when we have got choices which might not be the most ideal in the world, but they're at least Sharia compliant, then this is incumbent upon us to make full use of these options and choices available to us. So what I'm going to be covering briefly, okay, after this introduction, as I said, the focus here is on financial planning. So broadly speaking, what I want to do is give you a few important concepts first of all, and then just some small guidelines in terms of putting a financial plan together. Now, a good question to ask is what is actual financial planning? Okay, so let's leave the Islamic outside for the moment. Okay, what actually is financial planning? So financial planning is very simply, okay, how best to organize and manage your financial resources in order to achieve your financial goals, your financial objectives, that you want in life, okay? So this is simply what financial planning is, how we manage and use our financial resources. And of course, we want to optimize the use of the financial resources. So we have to make sure that there's tax efficient, it's efficient in terms of the level of risk you're taking, the level of reward you're getting, and so on. So we take all of these factors into account. And if we say, okay, so that's fine. That's what financial planning is, okay? And the important thing to remember is that Islamic financial planning is financial planning, okay? So all the tools and the concepts and the techniques and the models that we use in normal financial planning, we use them in Islamic as well, okay? But what is different with Islamic financial planning is that we want to manage our financial resources to achieve our financial goals, okay? To ensure that we're achieving our objectives in this life, okay, and in the next life as well, so that we're fulfilling all our duties and obligations that our wealth has got on us. So we want to make sure that our wealth is going to be something which is going to benefit us, not just in this life, but in the next life as well. Okay, so there's no barakah in making some fantastic, brilliant investments in this life that are going to make you huge amounts of money if it's going against, okay, what Allah has permitted us to do. Okay, so again, it's incredibly important to get, the right, get the right balance. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so let's look at let's start off with looking at the financial planning matrix. So the idea behind this is simply really to help you to think, okay, about your financial plans in a holistic way, okay, in a holistic manner. So if we start off with a question first off, so if we ask ourselves, what is our most valuable financial resource? Okay, so what's our most valuable financial resource? Now, I'm sure this is obviously not an interactive session at the moment until we get to the questions. I'm sure most of you will be thinking, oh, my most important financial resource is my income. Okay, so for most people, okay, especially those starting their careers, etc., their income and the ability to earn that income for the next, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, this is going to be their most financial resource. Yes, of course, people who are now retired and they have, property, businesses and wealth, then their income is no longer necessarily their biggest resource. So we're talking about, for the majority of people who are still in their career, working, etc., still have a long time to go to retirement, their most valuable resource is going to be their earned income. Of course, our earned income, this is basically what pays for all our costs and our expenses. Okay, it pays for our cost of living. And ideally, in order to be able to save and to do any financial planning, we need to have a surplus of income, okay, over expenses. And in fact, if you think about it, a useful way to think about your financial situation is like that of a company, okay? So for a company, in order to pay dividends to its shareholders, of course, it will need to have a surplus of income over its expenses, okay? So the same for us as well, okay? If we're going to be able to build up any wealth in the future, any savings, we need to obviously have a surplus of income over our expenses. So once we have this disposable income, we can then put it into various savings. So you've got short-term savings, which is basically money in the bank. This is for liquidity purposes. So like, minimum one should have 6 months your monthly outgoings in short-term savings. Sometimes you need to have more because you're in the middle of or you're saving for a particular short-term objective, for example, saving for like a deposit for a house, or you're building up some savings that you're about to buy a car, like this. So your short term will go up and down dependent on your requirements, but as a minimum, you should have, 6 months. Then on the other scale, you've got long term. Okay, so long term, this is for your pension, for your retirement planning. Okay, so this is money which ideally you're locking away, okay, that you won't, release, okay, that money until you get to your, retirement age, which, by the way, always seems to be increasing. And then you've got medium term savings, which is in between. So medium term savings is like doing your ISAs, okay, doing your ISAs, building up capital for the future, which can be then used, okay, for things like university for children. It can be used maybe for buying a car in the future, being used so that you don't have to get into debt in the future. You have the money to buy big expenditure items without having to borrow the money, and so on. And of course, let's not forget, okay, charity. Okay, so as Muslims, we know that this is crucially important. In the Holy Quran, the charity payments, zakat, is mentioned, so many times with, doing the salah. Okay, so these, come together all the time in the Holy Quran. So huge emphasis on this. So we should, as well as thinking about, okay, our financial plans, we should think about our plans for the next life as well. And really, it's good to do, regular charity, having it come out by direct debit every month. Okay, and then like a bill, you forget about it. Then, of course, obviously, once these savings, okay, you will build up and accumulate these savings, then you have capital to play with. Okay, you have a lump of money to play with. excuse me, Bismillah. Then you've got capital. So once you've got capital, then you can do other things with your money. Okay. So when you've got capital, you can create, you can invest in an investment portfolio. You can invest in property or real estate assets. You can do alternative assets, like for example, setting up your own business and company. Now that latter option is not for most people, as it's a fairly high risk type of option. But for some people, this is something valid that they do with their capital. And the whole idea is, okay, from this investment portfolio, or from your real estate, or indeed even from your own company, you're creating income from your capital. You're creating an income from your capital. And this is what you want to achieve. Okay, this is what you're aiming to. This is the the holy grail of financial planning, is that eventually the income from your capital is more than enough to replace your earned income. Okay, so you think about it. Okay, why do we work? We need to work because we have to pay all these expenses, etc., and build up our financial future. But once we have a certain amount of capital, whatever form that might be, an investment portfolio, properties, or your own company, or a variety of these, then once you have enough income from your capital, then you no longer need to work again. You have financial independence. Okay, so this is the holy grail of financial planning, to be no longer dependent on your, shall we say, toil and sweat. Of course, most people only achieve this when they retire, but it's possible to achieve it, sooner. Okay, depending on how good one is at, managing one's financial resources. Of course, one also needs to bear in mind, okay, one needs to bear in mind that, okay, this is dependent on my income. Okay, this is dependent on me earning an income. This is dependent on my most important financial resource. So if something happens to me and I can't work because of illness or accident, or I die and I leave behind a family, then this is a problem. Okay, this is going to ruin this whole, financial plan. So this is where we're talking about financial protection. So things like, life assurance, critical illness cover, income protection, these type of things. Okay. Now, at the moment, I'm talking about these from a conceptual perspective, but at this juncture, I do have to mention, because we have, perhaps mainly a UK audience, but we have maybe people from other, jurisdictions in the world attending this talk as well. In the UK, okay, there are no Sharia compliant options for financial protection, unfortunately. So this is something that is definitely good to have, okay? But, for example, Simply Ethical as a firm is not something that we're able to offer in the UK, simply because there are no Sharia compliant options available. If, for example, you're in the Middle East, UAE, Saudi, etc., yes, they have what is called 𝗙𝗲𝗲, and there are, many options available for that. You also, okay, of course, the other responsibility that you need to think about, okay, is your zakat, your obligation to pay zakat on your accumulated capital and wealth, which, inshallah, we calculate on an annual basis. Time permitting, and I don't know how much time we're going to have, I'm going to come back to zakat a little bit later, okay, if we have time. And if we don't have time, inshallah, another day, Simply Ethical, we will do a talk on zakat. It's something we normally do at Ramadan time, but to be honest, we should do it in other times of the year as well. So we have to ensure that we pay our zakat on our capital, on our wealth, and of course the other forms of charity as well. So waqf, which is charitable endowment, a 𝗙𝗲𝗲 𝗢𝗏, a loan without any interest and benefit, and of course, over and above our obligatory charity, which is zakat, sadaqah, okay, extra charity as well. So these are all the areas in which Muslims can easily, the areas where Muslims can allocate income and wealth towards that charity. I think one of the ones which is perhaps not used enough is 𝗙𝗲𝗲 𝗢𝗏. 𝗙𝗲𝗲 𝗢𝗏 can be of huge benefit to individuals, organizations, and the great thing is you're earning blessings and benefits, and you're not even giving the money away. Okay, you're getting the money back. Okay, you're getting the money back. You're just doing a card Hassan, but it can be a huge help. So inshallah, this is something which will develop more in the future. Of course, okay, with financial planning, and your investments and your wealth, you want to do things as tax efficiently as possible. So you need to have a tax shield, okay? So protecting your income and your wealth from taxation as much as possible. So for example, making use of your ISA allowance, okay, we're talking about the UK, making use of your contributions that you put into your pension, which will get tax relief on those contributions, and so on. And of course, you also want to have a risk shield as well. So when we're talking about investment, okay, putting together an investment portfolio, putting together your financial plan, we want to consider the things which can go wrong. Okay, so what are the risk factors? Okay, so for example, if somebody says, you know what, I'm going to put all, I'm pretty good, I'm very entrepreneurial mind, I'm going to just put all my money into my own business. Okay, this might work out fine and you might make lots of money. Okay, but what happens if that business, if something goes wrong, then that means you've lost everything, and things can change very quickly, very suddenly. Or you decide, you know what, I'm going to put all my money into property. Okay, property requires a lot of money. Okay, put all your money into one property, and then let's say it goes on fire, or you get a nightmare tenant, or something like this. The point that I'm making here, in terms of risk shield, and again, is beyond the scope of this talk to go into too much detail. In terms of risk shield, diversification is one of the most, maybe the most important investment principle. Not having, all your eggs in the one basket. And of course, this is connected, to the protection, financial protection as well. So this is like just a summary, okay? So you can, look at your, your financial planning from a holistic perspective. Out of this, there's two key questions, okay? Out of this, there's two key questions to ask yourself. So number one, okay, is how much capital do I need, okay, to achieve this financial independence? How much capital do I actually need? And of course, this is going to vary for different people, okay? And then the second question you're going to ask is, how do I achieve it? How do I get there? So this is where we could talk about financial planning, and going back to the objective of financial planning, how to manage, okay, your financial resources, which are from Allah, okay, in the optimum way to achieve your financial goals, okay, to achieve your financial goals and lifestyle that you want in this life, without compromising the Sharia, without compromising the Islamic law, and which is going to achieve benefit for you in the next life, as well. And for some people, I'll be honest with you, for some people this is going to mean slightly different things to different people. In the same way in religion, when we talk about different aspects of the religion, doing our salah, doing our fasting, our charity, etc., there are different levels. So there's like sort of minimum levels, and then there's aiming for higher. Okay, aiming for higher. Same when it comes to financial planning from an Islamic perspective as well. You have some people, there'll be some person, really wise person with financial planning, to say, oh, they'll be thinking about, okay, yes, I need to grow my capital, etc. But I also want to create prosperity for people. So you might have somebody who might say, do you know what? I'm going to actually do my own business because I can actually employ a lot of people. Yes, I'm looking to make gain for myself, but you know what? I'm actually going to, by doing my own business, I can actually employ a lot of people and help those to create prosperity as well. Okay. As for example, putting, let's say, your money into, okay, let's say I'm going to call it a boring sukuk. Okay, we'll come to sukuk later. Into a boring sukuk, which is, it's Sharia compliant, it's fine, alhamdulillah, but it's not, going to help somebody get, create prosperity in terms of, providing jobs for people, etc. So, as I said, there are different levels. For some people, for many people, the level is they want things to be Sharia compliant. It's as simple as this. Okay, which alhamdulillah, this is also good. Okay, this is also good. We have many you know, as we said at the beginning, our wealth this is a test from Allah. And you know, even in this day and age, for people wanting to ensure that everything that they do financially is Sharia compliant, this is praiseworthy. So moving on, okay. So a key aspect of financial planning is investments, which means you're going to be buying and selling investments. So this is just a little reminder, okay, reminder that, you know, economics drive markets, okay. So any investment that you buy today, okay, the price that you pay for that investment is going to depend on the, you know, the supply and demand, or the buyers and the sellers for that investment. So you're going to buy a sukuk, you're going to go and buy a share, you're going to go and buy a you know, some property or real estate investment. The price that you pay today will depend on the supply and demand, you know, from the sellers and the buyers. And in the same way, the price that you sell this investment in the future will depend on the future supply and demand. So this leads us to the question, you know, when somebody is looking at an investment, you know, what do investors basically, you know, need to know? What are the crucial things that they need to know? So really, if you think about it, okay, the starting point, okay, is, well, what's the purchase price I'm going to pay for the investment? What is going to be my expected selling price in the future? And in the period of time that I'm owning that investment, what is the income that I'm going to get from that investment? So for example, if investing in a property, okay, so this is the price I'm going to pay today. So what price do I think I'm going to be able to sell it in the future? And what's going to be the rental income that I'm going to get from that property? So this is one. So this is maybe the first thing that, you know, investors think about is, you know, what are the returns I'm going to get? So look at the income return and future capital gain. Then you also need to think about, okay, what is the risk? Okay, so what is the risk? So when we're talking about investments, we cannot think about return unless we're also thinking about risk as well. We should be thinking both at the same time. So we need to think about, okay, this investment that I'm doing, what is the risk to the income? Okay, so for example, if it's a property or real estate, okay, what is the chances that, you know, I'm going to be able to let it out? Or if I get a problem tenant that I'm not going to pay the rent, or I'm investing in a share or a company, what is the risk that that company is going to go bust and then I'm going to lose that income, or dividends are going to decline, and so on. So you need to think about the risk in terms of the income, future income that you will receive, and in terms of the future selling price as well. And what determines the selling price of your investment in the future is going to be the future supply and demand of that investment or asset. What are the factors? Okay, what are the factors that affect the future supply and demand of that investment? It's going to be the obvious things like the economy. Okay, where are we in the economic cycle? Is going to be central bank policy. Okay, so like interest rates. Okay, now we know, okay, interest is haram. Okay, we know that interest is haram. However, that doesn't mean that we're not affected by it. Okay, number one. Okay, and again, this is beyond the scope of this to go into detail on this. If we take Islamic banking, you know, for example, Islamic banking, the profit rates. So obviously Islamic banks can't do what conventional banks do. They can't lend money. Okay, they cannot make money on money. So they're not allowed to do this. We know this. However, okay, they're still involved in the creation of debt. Okay, most of the products are creating debt, debt creation. And how is this debt price? Is the profit rates will be based on the interest rates. So even Islamic banking, okay, even Islamic banking is still using interest rates as a benchmark. Interest rates is effectively represents the price of money. So when the central banks and monetary authorities decide on the interest rate, they're basically deciding on the price of money, and the value of everything is measured using, you know, money. So when you're deciding on the price of money, you're affecting the value of everything else. Okay, so even as an Islamic investor, by staying away from interest, etc., etc., you can't like put your head in the sand and not think about it. This is still something that you need to think about. What are happening with interest rates? What is the interest rate monetary policy of the central bank? We need to take inflation into account. Okay, some investments are good from an inflation perspective, and some are badly affected from inflation. So, for example, Sukuk. Okay, Sukuk, and I'm going to explain it very, very simply what Sukuk is. Okay. Sukuk is the Islamic equivalent, okay, of bonds, and the other name for Sukuk is Islamic bonds. Now, a Sukuk is not a bond, okay, because a bond is an IOU. It is it's an interest-bearing debt instrument. A Sukuk is not. However, financially, a Sukuk, okay, is similar. The financial characteristics of a Sukuk are similar to a conventional bond. Okay, so for example, the point I'm making is, so inflation. So if you have a Sukuk which is giving you a fixed return on investment, this is will not be good in a high inflation environment. Whereas real estate, investing in companies, investing in equity will be better from an inflation perspective. If you're investing overseas, okay, away from your domestic currency, you need to think about foreign exchange risk. You'd have to take into account government fiscal policy, future expectations, and because remember, the price of an asset today is a reflection of what we think that asset is going to do in the future. So it's a reflection of the future cash flows from that asset. So if our future expectations change, this will affect the value of the investment today. And of course, we need to think about the unexpected things which we call like maybe black swan events. Okay, the unexpected. Nobody has this predicted or in their models for decision making. So, good example is COVID-19. I need not say any more on that, and that can completely upend an investment or a financial plan or policy. Oh, I'm going backwards. I must be getting old. And the other key thing is, so all of these factors affect the supply and demand of an investment, that what price you're going to get when you sell in the future. And of course, all these factors affect, of course, the price that you're paying today. Okay. Are there any other factors? Yes. Okay. Of course. Okay. There's of course your attitude towards risk. Okay. How much you can afford to lose, your time horizon for investment, your need for liquidity, your knowledge and your expertise. How much time do you have? So, for example, investing in property is time consuming. It takes time to do it compared to do like an investment portfolio of equities and Sukuk, etc. Your tax position, you want to make sure that the investments you're doing are as tax efficient as possible. Okay, so these are all the factors that you will look at. Okay, so moving on to some financial planning principles. Okay, financial planning principles. The first point really that I suggest to clients to start off with is the fun bit. Okay, so the fun bit is really determining what your financial goals. It's very, very boring just to save money just for the sake of saving money. So you want to think, okay, what am I going to do with this money? Okay, so this is the shall we say, the fun part. Okay, the dreaming. Okay, thinking about what you want. Okay, so it could be for current, future, to afford your house in the future, for your education, for children's education, so that you can retire early, you can have a comfortable retirement, that you can afford on nice holidays, that you can have quality of time. Okay, I always say, if you have money, you have choices. Okay, if you don't have money, then you don't have choices, and you get compromised. Your time gets compromised by having a lack of money or capital. So basically, the more if you achieve that financial freedom, financial independence, then you have more time to live, inshallah. Now, the last one is something I don't recommend, but for sure, for some people, some people, their goal is actually to have a certain amount of money. Okay, they don't tie it to anything else, but they just feel comfortable with having a certain amount of dosh cash, to fall back on. So this is but again, it's better to have like a purpose in mind for the money. For sure, the money, we can't take it with us. As Muslims, we believe in charity, and this is something which will benefit us in this life and in the next life. Okay, so again, if you have, if Allah has endowed you with good income and good wealth, then this is something that you can also do. This will also be a big goal in your financial plans as well. A short, medium, and long term goal. More, you could be, to clear your debts, make sure that you stay debt free. Okay, by being, building up your financial capital and independence. Going on Hajj, this is one of the obligations, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. This is not something which is cheap. It's expensive. Okay, so something again that you need to plan for. Having a financial safety net to fall back on, maybe invest in properties overseas, maybe to get like a, what do you call, like a golden visa. Okay, you want to get a new passport. So these are all different examples of financial goals that people can have. Now, what's really, really important, okay, a financial goal is not a financial goal, okay, you need, unless it has got, 2 elements attached to the financial goal, okay. One, okay, is you need to quantify it. So, okay, I want to retire at age 60, for example. Okay, that's fine. So we need to quantify how much capital do I need in order to be able to achieve that. Okay, I want to go on Hajj, okay, in 5 years' time. Okay, that's fine. So how much is that going to cost me? Look at the cost today. Let's take into account inflation. I want to, so this is the first aspect. You need to quantify your financial goals. And the second aspect, okay, the second aspect is you need to have a time horizon as well. Okay, you need to have a time horizon. So, for example, like I mentioned with Hajj, okay, I want to achieve this in 5 years' time. Okay, retirement, I want to achieve this by the time I'm age 60. Okay, so again, these are the 2 key aspects to have in mind when you have goals. You need to have the right mindset, okay, for financial planning. I'll be honest with you. Okay, if you think about who is your biggest enemy, okay, when it comes to financial planning, okay, the biggest enemy, all you need to do is look in the mirror, okay, just look in the mirror and you'll be looking at your biggest enemy. Okay, it's ourselves. Okay, it's ourselves. This is we are our biggest enemies when it comes to financial planning. So it's like a battle between your present self and your future self, lifestyle and goal setting, getting financially organized and budgeting. Okay, these are crucial. Understanding and management of risk. So these are the key things which you need to do. Okay, in terms of putting a financial plan together. Future self versus self. So okay, this is the whole idea. You need to get a balance. Your future self would like you to have a miserable life now and save huge amount of money so you can be rich in the future. Okay, your present self would like to just live now. Okay, not worry about your future self and spend the money now. So it's about getting the balance between your future self and your present self. You have to ask yourself the question: are my current lifestyle choices, compromising my future goals? Okay, am I spending too much money on, on frivolous things? Okay, are there ways in which I can be, cutting back on my expenditure? Are there ways in which I can increase my income? Okay, for example, getting better qualifications. Okay, getting a better job, and so on. Budgeting. Okay, you need to get yourself financially organized. Okay, so you need to be like your own accountant. Okay, you need to be like your own accountant. Okay, work out your income and expenditure. I'll be honest, you should use an Excel spreadsheet for this. You cannot be using an Excel spreadsheet for this. And by the way, we at Simply Ethical, we have an Excel spreadsheet that we can give our clients to get yourself organized. Okay, to get yourself organized. And you don't even have to be a client of ours, and you can have this Excel spreadsheet to get yourself organized. You need to be able to see what is your disposable income, how much income do I have to play with, okay, to put into savings to achieve our financial goals. You need to think like a company, a balance sheet. What are my assets? What are my liabilities? So effectively, you need to think, like your own accountant, basically. Uh, that's bringing us toward the end, okay, of the session. I mean, to be honest, I can talk more, okay. I can really, I'm just getting going, just getting warmed up. But it is good to take any questions from the audience before we wrap up the session for today. In terms of more information, okay, Simply Ethical website is a great. We have so many articles, okay, opinion pieces, tools, etc. So you can go onto that, okay, and to find out more, useful information. Of course, the Simply Ethical, we offer two main options that we offer to our clients or to our prospective clients. One is we online option, okay, where effectively you don't use a financial advisor, you just go online and do everything yourself. So we offer Shariah compliant ISAs, pensions, etc. So we have an online option. And the charges are, as you would expect, they're not cheap as chips. Okay, great. And then we have an advisor option, okay, where you can get bespoke advice from one of the financial advisors at Simply Ethical. And you can even book a meeting, through the website as well. You can get an initial slot, 15 minutes, no charge, etc. So these are the things which I wanted to say. I hope that, inshallah, that you found the session, useful and interesting. And now is the opportunity to take any questions. So yeah, if there's any questions that anybody wants to ask, you can put it into the comments section, and we will answer any questions. So we've got a question coming in from Hawa. I would like to invest in a Shariah compliant manner. I don't have a lot saved at the moment, but is it possible to invest on a monthly basis? And if so, how long should I invest to see real gains? Okay, thank you for this question, Howard. This is a great, a great question. Look, for sure you can save on a monthly basis with our online platform. Okay, with our online platform, the minimum investment amount is 1,000. Okay, so what I would say to somebody who wants to save like monthly, okay, is make sure you have 1,000, and then you can do that as a minimum investment on our online platform, and then you can save monthly amount after that, like for example 50 a month, 100 a month, something like this. However, before doing something like this, you have to ensure that you have you have cash, you have short-term money to fall back on, because any money that you're putting investing or saving long term, this is money that you should have at least a 5-year time horizon, before looking to potentially take that money out. So first you have to make sure that you have enough cash and emergency cash to fall back on. And then after that, okay, once you have that satisfied, then it will be good then to think about saving money away for the long term. And generally, if we're talking about the UK, we're talking about putting your money into an ISA, okay, or putting your money into a pension. And on our online platform is very simple, very straightforward. You go through the process. You fill in a risk questionnaire that assesses your attitude towards risk, and then it will recommend a portfolio for you, and it all gets managed professionally. And as I said, the minimum time horizon, should be a 5-year period. So just checking if there's any other questions. Thank you, Hawa. Hope you found that useful. Okay, so I think we have, mashallah, we have a quiet audience today. Okay, so We have another question just coming in. This is from Wafiq. So I have pensions with my previous employers, but I don't invest, and most probably they are not halal. Can I transfer these pensions into other Sharia-based pension funds? Okay, fine. This is a really good question, Wafiq, and I suppose this is like common for many people. Okay, so you're in a pension scheme at work. It could be a company pension scheme, or it could be a private pension that the company is paying into. And like maybe the majority of pension plans that are out there in the UK, they're not Sharia compliant. Okay, there are not Sharia compliant investment options that are there. So really in this situation, ideally, there's a few approaches you can go down. Okay, so number one is you can potentially approach your employer or your current pension provider and ask. Okay, ask and double check. Say, well, look, I'm a Muslim. I want to make sure that my investments are Sharia compliant. So number one, double check. Are there any Sharia compliant options available to you in that pension plan? If there are none, and then you can ask, can you introduce, any Sharia compliant funds available, for me and other, Muslims colleagues to invest in. So just your right to, to ask for this. Then, you can also then consider the options of transferring your pension to a Sharia compliant pension option, but you need to be careful. Okay, you need to be careful with this. It depends on whether you have a private pension. It depends on whether it's a private or a company pension scheme, whether your employer is putting money in or not, etc. So pensions can be a complex area. So there are definitely options that are there in the marketplace, but it's something which you need to seek advice, professional advice, in terms of what are the options that you can consider. But a great question, because I think this is something which is of an issue for most people. And talking about pensions, this is where we need to do like an audit check of all our existing assets and our financial plans, including our bank accounts, to say, well, okay, is it Sharia compliant or not? Okay, and if it's not Sharia compliant, what are the options that are open to me to make it, a Sharia, make it Sharia compliant? Another important point that I want to make as well, and this is an important point which has been, just come into my head with this question. The other thing which you need to be careful of from an investment perspective as well, excuse me, sometimes, Muslims, they're very, very keen, to make sure that everything is in accordance with Islam, that are not going against the Sharia, and they will automatically jump into any investment which is Sharia compliant. Okay, so this is a mistake. So an investment that is Sharia compliant does not mean that investment is good from like a return risk perspective. Okay, it could be a bad investment, it could be a lousy investment, and it could still be Sharia compliant. Okay, so don't make this in that. If we think of a non-investment, a non-financial example, it is like you can go into let's say in the Middle East, Dubai, and go and eat in the McDonald's. Okay, the food is sure is going to be halal, is going to be permissible, but doesn't mean that it's going to be very nutritious, very healthy, good for you type meal to be eating, every day. Or if I was ever to cook dinner for you, for sure, my ingredients will be Sharia compliant. It'll all be halal, but it might not necessarily taste the best if I don't burn it. Just ask my wife about that. So don't confuse Sharia compliance with something, oh yeah, it's Sharia compliant, it must be a good investment. Just means it's Sharia compliant, it means it's not breaking the laws, okay? So you need to look at the normal, criteria that you would use with looking at any or evaluating any investment, okay? Risk, return, liquidity, okay? And other factors which I've mentioned already in terms of assessing the investment as to whether it is suitable or not for you. So we have another question. Is it compliant to take out conventional insurance if there is no Sharia alternative? Ibrahim, this is a great question. Okay, and to be honest with you, I don't feel, shall we say, 100% adequate to answer this question. Okay, it's a difficult question, it's a tricky question, it's one maybe where there's different opinions. So, for example, if we're talking about, let's say, car insurance, okay, this is a legal obligation to have car insurance. Okay, so this is something which you have to do. Okay, even if there's no Sharia compliant car insurance available. Okay, then you still have to do it anyway. But then when we talk about things like, house insurance, okay, life assurance, critical illness cover, etc. Again, this is something which, many of the scholars would say, no, unless there's a legal requirement to do it, no, you shouldn't be doing it. Unless there's a Sharia compliant option that is available, to you. And it's one of those areas where you can get different opinions. Like the view that Simply Ethical has taken for sure is, inshallah, we're hoping that this is something that will develop in the future. And there are some small Sharia compliant options out there in terms of general insurance, but not in terms of life cover, critical illness cover, income protection, etc. They're all available in Muslim majority countries like in the Middle East, Malaysia, etc. But we don't have them in the UK at the moment. So our view at this moment in time is that whilst we recognise the need for clients to have these type of covers, this type of financial protection, this is not something that we're getting involved in because there are no Sharia compliant options that are available. So again, quite a topical question. Very good. Very good question. So I'm just pausing for Brett to see if we have any other questions that might come in before we finish the session. So I'll just make a few points because we're going to wrap up literally in the next 2 minutes. So just a few points to finish on before we finish the session for today. So the key thing, okay, and I say this to every single client, okay, the key thing is to get yourself financially organized. Do a audit check, okay, of all of your financial situation. Like literally go to and use an Excel spreadsheet. And as I said, we can send you an Excel spreadsheet. We call it our financial box, okay, your financial box. So you fill all your financial details into your financial box to get yourself financially organized. This is absolutely crucial. Think about your goals in the future, but quantify them. Okay, quantify them. So in terms of how much you need, okay, and when you want to achieve your goals by. And we got to remember as well, we have to stay humble. We know that we can make our best intention, we can make all the best financial plans in the world, okay, but everything is by the will of Allah, okay. So we make our dua to Allah to give us success, okay, in our financial planning, okay. That we're doing our financial planning not just to benefit ourselves, our family, and our community in this life, but it's also going to be something which is going to be of benefit to ourselves in the future as well. And as I said, anybody who would like to follow up, get more information, we have a huge amount of information on our website, Simply Ethical, and of course one can even book a consultation with one of our advisors as well. I would like to thank everybody for your kind participation today. I wish everyone well and success in your future. Inshallah, maybe my paths might cross with some of you in the future. Thank you very much for your time, for listening, and inshallah have a good evening. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.